Dawn?
Garnish with the maggots now.
Those were up, and they did.
We're smart, and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review, and this movie review is going to be for a horror film that's come out this weekend. It's the 5th installment of a certain iconic horror franchise, and one by Sam Raimi, easily my favorite horror franchise of all time. And that horror franchise, or installment, in movie this weekend is going to be none other than today's newest release, Evil Dead Rise, directed by Lee Cronin, and produced by Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, the series creators, in the 5th installment of the Evil Dead franchise. So what's the plot of this? Well, instead of being set in a cabin in the middle of the woods, this movie is set in an apartment building, where after a long journey on the road, Beth visits her older sister Ellie, who is struggling to raise 3 children alone in a small Los Angeles apartment. However, their reunion is interrupted when they find a strange book hidden in the depths of Ellie's building, which unleashes horrid flesh-possessing demons. Yeah. So how was this film made? Well, at the South by Southwest premiere of the 2013 remake 10 years ago, Fede Alvarez announced that his remake to The Evil Dead would get a sequel. In addition, Sam Raimi had confirmed plans to write Evil Dead 4 with his brother Ivan Raimi, and it was later specified that the film would be a sequel to Army of Darkness. At a WonderCon panel in March 2013, Bruce Campbell and Alvarez stated that their ultimate plan was for Alvarez's Evil Dead 2 and Raimi's Army of Darkness 2 to be followed by a 7th film which would merge the narratives of Ash and Mia. Campbell even confirmed he would reprise his role as Ash in Army of Darkness 2, and Alvarez later that month tweeted to his followers that Raimi would serve as director of Army of Darkness 2, and by November, Campbell expressed doubts in a 4th Evil Dead film, though, sadly. And in September 2017, during a panel at Fan Expo Canada, Campbell even stated he believes the only successful future for the franchise is via a premium cable network, which he cited Ash vs. Evil Dead on Starz as an example back when the show was running. Then in November 2018, Alvarez announced that there was just ideas right now, nothing to announce officially, and they did have a script. They did have a script for Don't Breathe 2, but the difference was Don't Breathe was another film that Alvarez did after Evil Dead Remake, and Don't Breathe 2 is a sequel he ended up doing, but they did not have a script for Evil Dead 2. And when he tweeted that he even said that when he tweeted that he was interested in seeing what people preferred, they were having some internal debates about what people would be interested in most. Unfortunately, Evil Dead 2 won in most interest, which, although he thinks he would have preferred Don't Breathe 2 to win because it's one of his own creations, but Evil Dead had the bigger following. Then in July 2019, Raimi even discussed the future Evil Dead franchise and said that they'd like to make another Evil Dead feature, and in fact we're working on some ideas right at the moment. Raimi said they'd be interested in making another film with Campbell. However, Campbell later claimed he had retired from the role of Ash for good, and another option would be a sequel to the 2013 reboot. But he's unsure if Alvarez would want to make a sequel at this point because the director is a successful artist in demand as the years progressed. But then Campbell was confirmed to appear in the film in April 2023 in a tiny little cameo that did not even appear in the movie, guys. Then in October 2019, Raimi announced at New York Comic Con that a new film was officially in development. Robert Tabbert was set to produce. Raimi and Campbell served as executive producers only, all under their Ghost House Pictures banner. Then in June 2020, Campbell revealed that Lee Cronin was handpicked by Raimi to write and direct the film, and it would be titled Evil Dead Now at the time, and after Cronin was previously collaborated with Raimi on the horror streaming series 50 States of Fright. Then in May 2021, New Line Cinema had picked up the film with it scheduled to be released on HBO Max and retitled Evil Dead Rise. Principal photography then began in New Zealand on June 6, 2021, with Dave Garbutt serving as cinematographer, and Garbutt previously served as cinematographer on several episodes of Ash vs. Evil Dead. Then July 14, 2021, Corleone revealed that filming was officially halfway done, and filming had wrapped on October 27, 2021, and Corleone stated the film used over 6,500 liters, which is about 1,717 gallons of fake blood. And, but however, we all know the film did not end up going to HBO Max. And after the film was shot and marketed, Evil Dead Rise had its premiere at South by Southwest on March 15, 2023, and was released in the United States in theaters, actually, instead, today, on April 21st, today, by Warner Bros. Pictures and New Line Cinema, and much like the other films in the series, this one also received generally positive reviews from critics. Now as for my reaction, well, let me say I am a huge fan of the Evil Dead films. The original film is still one of my favorite horror movies ever made, and has one of my all-time favorite leads in any horror movie ever, Ash Williams. The sequel, Evil Dead 2, is also one of my favorite horrors of all time, and easily my number one favorite horror sequel of all time, and it's the one where Ash really became the terrific lead character he is today. Then the third film, Army of Darkness, is also just as good as 1 and 2, and it's probably one of the best comedies of all time, even if it felt too damn short. Definitely one of the greatest trilogies in horror, and with no bad movies at all. Then in 2013, there was a reboot, or follow-up, standalone follow-up, with a new lead character, and I found it for a remake to be decently good. But guys, come on. It's not the best one of the series like so many people I've watched on YouTube seem to really call it. One certain YouTuber actually does think this is the best one, each their own, but the best one of the series? No. I find it the weakest of the franchise despite still enjoying it. And I have not seen the series Ash vs. Evil Dead. Now you get this movie. And well, I was at first really worried for this one because, well, it was originally getting dumped to streaming, and we saw how a certain horror sequel last year turned out on Netflix. So I thought it would be a shitty watered-down PG-13 mess. And plus, Ash Williams was being retired as a character, so I had no idea how this was even going to turn out. However, then I saw the Red Band trailer, and I gotta say, I liked they were actually not going the PG-13 route with this movie, because Evil Dead does not belong in that rating. But how are they even going to surpass the remake in terms of gore and brutality? And then the critical reviews started showing up, and surprisingly, it got better reviews than the remake, but for some reason, it temporarily got higher reviews than the other 3 movies. Anyway, but back to my reaction to this movie. I saw the movie last night at the Thursday night showing, and I will say, this might have to be my 4th favorite of the series. Another good film in this series. It's definitely good, but not better than the original trilogy in the slightest. The Evil Dead movies, in this one, Evil Dead movies usually are set in the woods. This time, they have left the woods, and they bring their bloodthirsty spirits to Los Angeles in an apartment building where a woman is raising her kids alone. One of the kids even finds the Book of the Dead and decides messing around with it is a good idea. And they enter the younger sister of the single mom who plays pretty much the go-between trying to hold the family together. Once the kid finds out things should be left alone for a reason, because one of the kids just had to be so stupid as fuck. Honestly, it's definitely better than the 2013 movie. It doesn't come close to Raimi's original trilogy, but it's about as good as a horror-heavy, non-Raimi take on Evil Dead can be. And I honestly do hope they may make another one, or maybe some other filmmaker will have the guts to make another that mixes standalone movie, original movie that mixes comedy with horror and has the same tone as Evil Dead. It's Evil Dead at its best to me. The mix of silly and scary makes those first 2 movies really stand out. But yeah, I think I would rather watch this more than the 2013 remake. You take the core premise we've all seen 1,000 times before, shake up the setting, shake up what's targeted. It's what happens here, and it's what you expect narratively. And many of the scenes are a little too telegraphed, but it has a neat, confined setting for a horror movie, and the fact it features a family, including children being targeted, makes things honestly more horrifying in places. and perhaps the dead have never been eviler. Here, this is probably the most evil that the dead spirits from the book have ever been in this movie. And there's some good gooey makeup effects and some thrills here. You've seen it all before, but even fans of films like 1986's Demons movies might even recognize a little homage here. The cold open is literally set in a cabin by the lake as these two people named Caleb and Teresa come to realize their friend Jessica isn't doing so well, and Q is scalping a self-inflicted injury with a drone as Cronin sets the tone for what's to come. And at first it seems like it's going to be at another cabin again, but it turns out it's only the opening scene. And there's a nice little twist with the opening scene at the very end that I will not spoil, but it's a neat little twist on the scene. And those bloody thrills sure are excellent, though. Like the cheese grater moments, which was one of the most infamous of the Red Band trailer. But it's far from the only notable horror gag. There's a murder spree filmed entirely through adored people and other household influence used in nasty ways. And Evil Dead Rise just leaves no horror fan feeling shortchanged. And it might not be set at a cabin for the most part, but the new movie has the Evil Dead spirit because as gross as it could be, it still also can be very funny. You still have some of the comedy here. You still have some neat little comedy moments here in this one. And even some of them are even good throwbacks to the other films. Yeah, one of them has an eyeball actually once again pops out one of the deadites. It falls into one of the neighbors' mouths. Throwback to the scene from Evil Dead 2. Heck, the deadites near the end of the movie even literally yell and chant Dead by Dawn a lot, which is the subtitle for the second movie. So good throwbacks to the first two films. And of course you have the typical demon pretends to act like the normal person they're possessing, just so they can get inside and they can kill the victims. So there's some very neat little throwbacks. Then you got the spraying blood as well onto them, which was also kind of comical. And even have even a nice little throwback to The Shining here, where the two survivors are trying to get away, which is the mom's sister and the little daughter. They're trying to get away, and the elevator is starting to flood up with blood. And once the elevator opens, the blood falls out of the elevator, kind of like in The Shining. Here, so there's a nice little one, and there's even a funny mention of Nightmare on Elm Street, where one of the neighbor's kids in the beginning of the movie is trying to invite one of the kids to come over to their apartment and says they're binge watching the Nightmare on Elm Street films. The other kid is like even the shitty ones, and of course the kid that's trying to invite her is like, there are no shitty ones. And I in the theater at that point I was like, yeah, there are three shitty movies in that franchise. Like Freddy's Dead, Elm Street 5, Elm Street the Remake. Those are the shitty ones. Yeah, there's shitty ones in that franchise. Unlike Evil Dead, which has no shitty films. Another element of classic Evil Dead is in the use of practical effects that make the big moments, like from an eyeball chew to a blood-filled elevator, the more impactful. And bolstered by physically committed performances from Lily Sullivan and Elissa Sutherland, the movie feels real, which heightens the wince factor. This honestly might have been the first film I even saw them in, because I've never seen them in anything else, aside from this movie. And I thought the setting for the movie was well done. It's even pretty hard to pull off an interstate apartment building and make it feel isolated, and help is a long way away. But the film achieved just that. These people really do feel stuck where they are, and escape is not an option. When some people could say, why can't they just jump out the window? Oh, I'll spoil this, guys. The mom's sister actually tries to escape through the window. But the problem is, guys, their apartment is way high up from the ground. And she even tried calling this homeless guy for help, and he didn't hear her. So, jumping out the window ain't an option. They did, they'd be dead. So, window escape is no option. and they can't really escape through the door either because you have all the deadites there waiting for the victims. Especially the people scene actually is proof of that. And in terms of acting performances, Sutherland is mostly fine through the film's 97-minute runtime and provides some lines that will surely become memorable and fairly iconic as time passes, for better or worse. And yeah, the film has a runtime of 97 minutes, which is nice and typical for an Evil Dead movie. The Evil Dead movies are usually never long. The Evil Dead movies have pretty short runtimes, so they're not over dragged out, they're not over rushed, they're paced perfectly, is another great thing. And Sullivan, on the other hand, though, is incredible and even carries the weight of the entire film with ease. The development of her character is even a thrill to watch as Sullivan learns fully into Beth's transformation over the course of the night. And he also had Ellie's children, who are played by Morgan Davies, Gabrielle Ickles, and Nell Fisher. They also perform well. They may not always be perfect, like certain moments are definitely better than others, like they have convincing enough performances that keep you grounded in the otherwise unimaginable world, but however, one of Ellie's children, Ellie's son, really, he kind of pissed me off. Because he's kind of the one that caused everything. During the time him and his sisters were in the parking garage, an earthquake happens. And they drop the dinner they were sent to get, just as they got back with it. And as they go under to hide him, the son finds this hole, and in the hole he finds this record player and the book. He steals them, and he's obviously warned, and he plays them in the apartment. So in a way, the son kind of caused everything. Honestly found the son kind of an idiot in this movie. I get some characters in Evil Dead movies can be idiots. Mostly the side characters, but come on. Who could be this stupid? Who could be this dumb to ever open the damn book and play that damn record player? Even one of the sisters says it's his fault this is happening, and it's kind of true. Dumbass should have known not to be opening that damn book. But whatever. I mean, regardless of the son was an idiot or not, I did like that the siblings don't really fight with one another, and they actually do seem like they do like each other at times, especially when they're showing their intro scene beginning of the film, and so yeah, they don't hate each other. And honestly, and also another thing, I didn't see any. If some of you Rambo Afterlife fans who watch my content have seen the movie and probably didn't like it in their opinions, let me know if any SJW stuff was in the film, because I remember not really seeing any. And another thing I also liked is that, once again, this movie did not go PG-13. They did not go CGI. They did not CGI the gore. No. They actually still kept the R-rated tone of the other films, which was nice. It didn't feel like too big of a cash cow. And some people may be upset Ash didn't come back, but I guess I feel like it's better to just leave Ash alone. He had his run. He had his story. I kind of wish they just left him alone after Army of Darkness, because Army of Darkness was a good end to his story. Army of Darkness was a great end to the character. I haven't seen the series, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like Army of Darkness was the perfect way to close off the character's story arc, so I feel like if they brought him back, they probably would have given him a shitty self-sacrifice. Remember what happened with Dewey in Scream 5? You want that to happen to Ash? I don't. Leave Ash alone. Let him have his happy ending. Just let his story be. Alright? Bruce Campbell doesn't want to play the character anymore. He's retired from the character for good. Just leave his character be. He's a good lead, but Ash had his run. And I certainly don't need him getting killed off next. So I like they did a different lead for once. Now, though, would there be bad qualities to the film? Yes. In terms of bad qualities, I'd say these would qualify, and they're the reasons why this is in 4th place and not above the original trilogy. I mean, and it's another, because first off, it's another one of these supernatural style horror films. I feel like the older I get, the harder I just find it to buy into these supernatural style horror films. I don't really believe it. I just sit there. Didn't really feel too much fear and tension throughout the movie. There's times when it kind of felt more like a Netflix horror film based on some mediocre moments and some cliche writing at times in the story. And there were some moments I couldn't really believe were put in an Evil Dead film. And again, it's trying to relate to a newer generation, but it's just kind of overkill. The film kind of just takes a classic franchise and tries to brand it to the younger generation, and it can be to a fault somewhat. And at times it meanders within the rather plain story we've seen in other possession films, and still providing shocking, disgusting sequences. And now, the gore. Yeah, the gore's there. There's some pretty graphic slice and dice kills, but some calling this the most disturbing, disgusting movie of the franchise, like IMDb is. I wouldn't fall for that if I were you. Because I was right, this film did not even remotely top the remake. Nothing can ever top the remake in terms of being violent. The remake was more violent than this. This couldn't even top Terrifier 2. Terrifier 2 is more violent than this. I don't think any movie can top either of those two films. This did have some realistic gore, and there was definitely no CGI, no practical effects. And it thankfully wasn't woke. But don't expect like something overly vomit-inducing and fainting, is what I will say. The gore just kind of felt more effective in the Red Band trailer. And once again, I mentioned the son was a big dumbass because he opened the book and read it. You know, he clearly shouldn't have. However, despite the bad qualities, I still did enjoy Evil Dead Rise, and for now, it might have to be the best horror film of 2023. Hopefully there can be other good ones that come out this year. But I can understand it's probably not going to be for everyone, and I don't think everybody's going to like this movie. Some YouTubers I watch probably won't like it if they get paid requested it, but oh well, each their own. I enjoyed it. I had a fun time with it. I mean, if you're a fan of old school body horror, you'll have a great time. If you don't want a PG-13 watered-down sequel for once, you might have a good time. In a world full of CGI and green screens, it was a pleasure to sit and watch practical effects and sets used perfectly. In the end, Evil Dead Rise is worth watching and buying for horror fans and Evil Dead fans, and worth it too for younger generation fans that are getting introduced to Evil Dead. But don't expect something like the original trilogy at all, and I don't think it should have been given an even higher... I'm glad it no longer has a higher score than Evil Dead 1 or 2, because I don't think this even surpasses either of the first three films. I still like the first three films better. Anyway, that's it for my review of Evil Dead Rise. Wondering how I'm going to rank Evil Dead Rise? Here's how I'm going to rank this movie.
So overall, if you love the Evil Dead series or are a huge gore hound and want to see it make a big comeback, then I highly recommend watching and buying this movie for your collection for sure. But don't expect it to top the first three movies at all. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Evil Dead Rise, I'm going to give Evil Dead Rise an 8 out of 10.
There we go. That wraps up my review for Evil Dead Rise. And I know this review might get some controversial reactions with some subscribers, but whatever. I mean, come on. We gotta admit, at least they didn't just rehash Evil Dead 2, bring back Ash and just make him die, and actually just try to do a different story and a different protagonist and try to do something separately standalone. At least there's that. And hey, you know what's better? They did not go PG-13 with this movie, and they did not overthrow in CGI with the gore. And actually used practical for once. So maybe Terrifier 2's success might be spawning a bit of a comeback for practical effects. I hope this path happens. Would like to see more practical effects than CGI for once. Until then, guys, that'll be it for this review. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this, want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don J. Corleone.